Saving life is my passion. Doctor is my profession. I share my journey as a medical professional that has made me an influencer. So who am I? Today, I have with me Dr. Yashika Tripathi. First of all, I would like to welcome you for taking our time and joining us for a brand new episode of the Changemakers of Mentogram. How are you?
Hi, Cha. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to your platform. I'm honestly so excited. Thank you for that introduction, by the way. That was so sweet. I'm well. How are you doing?
It's all good. Okay. So to start off, let's take you back to the time and how you started with your medical journey.
Yeah, sure. So I guess it's taken me like maybe 8 years of education to get where I am at the moment. So I live in the UK firstly, so my education system is probably a little bit different to what's known in India. So I have my A levels in sixth form, and then I did my undergraduate in BSc Biomedical Sciences. I then took a gap year, and then I did 4 years of medical training, for which I worked part-time as well. And now I'm finally a junior doctor in the UK. So very short summary about how I got where I am.
Okay, so it's something like you did work hard for 8 years and now is the result which you always wanted. Okay, so I'll speak about one of the points that I saw from your Instagram post, or I already know, which is something that we call as gap year, and that is something many people would have talked to you about. So the reason why I'm choosing this question is to bring this to the Indian audience, or to the people who are watching it from other places, that that sometimes we feel that gap year is something that maybe we should take, we should not take. We are so much confused about it when it comes to our medical profession or other professions. So what's your take on it? Why did you choose a gap year?
I honestly think this is probably going to sound so biased because I did it myself, but everyone should take a gap year. I think it's so productive, so useful. Like, you'll be studying your whole life, especially if you're in the medical field. I feel like once you start, you have such a linear progression, and you'll just be literally going from your education, graduation, training, specialty training, and then wherever your career will take you. And that one gap year it's such a small time frame in compared to the bigger picture of things, and you can do so much as well in that gap year. So I worked part-time, so I have to fund my own tuition fees and stuff, so that helped with my finances. I also got accrued a host of skills that helped with my medical application as well. And I traveled, and I had time to be with my family, my friends. It gave me 1 year out just to sort of focus on myself and do the things that I wasn't able to do previously. So for anyone thinking to take a gap year, if you can, and all things reasonable, I think you should take it, and I think it is something that will help you in the long term of things. That's for me and my experience anyway, but I've heard it for a lot of other people it's been quite similar as well, because you don't want to burn out as well. Like when you start your career as well, you want to have that, you want to come back with a freshened mind. So yeah, I think you should go for it.
Okay, so that's your perspective, and everybody has their own point of view. That if it's on the if we look at the positive side of everything, then there is something that you can always look at. Like, many people think that gap years is something that you shouldn't do. It's a waste of an entire year. But if we look at a perspective like yours, that no, this is something that is going to be very useful to you, they'll have their own benefits.
Exactly. No, exactly. That's it. Yeah, sure. I think it definitely is perspective. If you're going to take a gap year thinking I've wasted my time, then that's what your brain will just filter that out to be anything that you're doing won't be lucrative to yourself. Whereas if you're taking a gap year thinking actually this is going to be so productive, I've got a lot of things I can do, and it goes so quickly as well. Like, you know, your time will be so occupied with so many things, I'm sure, that you won't even realize. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think if you use it wisely, you can actually gain so much from it.
Yeah, time passes by like this. Okay. So you did your undergraduation from UK and did your graduation or post-graduation from Scotland. That made
Yeah.
you a doctor. So how has the difference been between UK and Scotland and the journey with all those things?
So Scotland is part of the United Kingdom. So obviously United Kingdom has four countries, isn't it? So it's still within the UK. So it wasn't, for me anyway, it was, I guess, moving out of home, for like going further away from home was a big deal. But actually my undergrad was 3 years, and I used to live in London for those 3 years. So I'd already moved out of home when I was 18 anyway. So I'd already sort of become used to living by myself with my friends, and that uni life. I guess what was different was that now I am in another country, but that country is still part of the United Kingdom. So it's not like currency was still the same, language was still the same. And, you know, it was an 8-hour drive. So I'd used to drive up and there, like during Christmas and Easter, I'd come back home. But within Scotland itself, obviously there's a difference. So, you know, going to London, city university, and going to Scotland. But Scotland itself is so beautiful. There's so many sort of beautiful like background sceneries. You can go hiking. Like, you know, Scotland's known for its beautiful landscapes and sort of so many heritage sites as well. But yeah, it was a change. It was a change from going, you know, being able to come home every other weekend to only Christmas and Easter and summer. So not being able to see family for quite a while. You know, it was an adjustment period as well. But yeah, I think it's quite good. I really enjoyed that. I didn't go into medicine straight away. I enjoyed that I had a bit of like, I did biomedical sciences first, took a gap year, and then I did medicine in Scotland. So, you know, I was in England for the first 3 years and then in Scotland for the final 4 years, and that gave me really good broad experiences as well from both sides. So if anything, I think I've gained so much from that.
Okay, that's quite a journey. So basically, when I was was mentioning about UK, it was slip of tongue. I was actually trying to mention London, and it slipped out as UK.
England, versus Scotland. Yeah, don't worry. Like honestly, it's
Okay. So, like I told in the very beginning that you are a social media influencer. You are just being very honest with your audience. You just share your point of view. You just share your stories, and maybe that's what people like. So that made you a kind of social media influencer, because if somebody has 15,000 followers, so they are an influencer right now. So if I was to ask you, how do you maintain the balance between a life that is there on the social media and a life that you face as a doctor? So how do you do that? Because I feel as a doctor, when you are there as a medical student or you're there as a medical professional, so you have to study a lot. So how do you maintain these two things?
So first, I think I tend to shy away from the word influencer. I'm not trying to influence anyone. Like, I'm literally, as you said very rightly, I'm just sharing my experiences. I don't, like, honestly, when I started this blog, it is still a blog. It's literally just my day-to-day life, what's happened in the day, what's happened in the past week, how I feel, a couple of reflections, what I've learned from it, and what I'm going to do in the future. I didn't think it would gain this much traction. And I don't know. I don't think it feels real. Like in my mind, when someone like mentions this to me, like 15,000, to me that doesn't feel real. And I think the thing is, I think it took off quite a bit during COVID as well, and I remember this very specifically. Sorry, I'm going off a tangent, but I think I remember this specific. I think it's when I was COVID positive, and that was during because I think it was like 2 years in, so it was was it just earlier on this year? I think it was. And like I started posting every day, and I think maybe that's what started getting more sort of traction towards my account. But in terms of sort of balancing that sort of social media versus professional life, I think my professional life, my career, everything, that will always come first. Social media, Instagram, it'll always be secondary to everything else. And it's only when I get the time that I can post. And my posts as I've mentioned before, my posts don't take that long. I'll take a picture, I'll write a caption. Caption will take 5 to 10 minutes about my day. I'll post it, and then that's it. I'll leave it. I won't try and do, maybe I should, I'm not a professional, but I just post and then I leave it. But yeah, in terms of like trying to balance it, as I said, it will never come in the way of my work. It's only if I have time off that I'll post and I'll think, actually, this has happened today, or I want to share this, and hopefully I'm posting and people like that. If not, that's also okay, because part of my account is literally just posting my experiences.
Yeah, like right now you said that it's also okay if you do not like my account. I remember, like, you seriously have very less people who actually dislike your profile, because I've been noticing that there are a lot of people who encourage you, who like your profile, and who randomly tell you that I've been following you on Instagram or Facebook. So you also mentioned about being tested positive during the COVID. So you were there as a front liner during the COVID period. So how was the experience, the overall experience that you shared with us, versus what you were feeling behind the camera, and when you were not tested positive, you were looking after the people? So, like, if I had to ask you to sum up all these things all together.
Yeah, sure. No, that's I think, just to quickly circle back in terms of all the positive and encouraging support I've had around me, that's really true. And I just wanted to take this moment to thank, like, whoever follows my blog and stuff. Like, that's been genuinely so sweet. And you're right, I think it's literally, I don't really get many negative comments, and so it's all literally very positive. So honestly, that is really nice and sweet. And I think, do you know what, even when I was diagnosed with COVID during that time, I think having that positive support network around me that's sort of what was useful and got me through. And it was, I'll actually tell you, it was very vivid. I remember this because I said I worked part-time during my studies. So I work as a healthcare assistant, or like a nursing auxiliary. I'm not sure what the equivalent of that in India would be, but essentially it will be, you got the nursing team, and then alongside the nursing team, you have the healthcare assistants, like supporting them in the day as well. So I booked a 12-hour shift on Sunday morning. And I remember I sent a tweet out the day before saying something like, oh, it's been 2 years, I haven't been diagnosed with COVID.
Yeah.
And then I said it, and then the next morning, because we have to test ourselves before we go to work as well, obviously, because we don't want to take COVID into work. And my COVID test came back positive, like the two lines. And I was just in shock. Like, I just couldn't believe it, because I thought, if I hadn't got it for 2 years, like, why would I get it now? And I literally did 4 further tests just to make sure it is true. So yeah, I was tested, but I didn't actually have many symptoms, I was really grateful and privileged. Like, I am really thankful that I know some people obviously have had horrendous experiences with COVID, but I didn't have. I think maybe I was a bit lethargic and just symptoms of a cold, but other than that, I was fine. But in terms of just, I think, what else can you do, isn't it? You've got COVID, you just have to isolate for 10 days. And at that time, it was, I was just at home for most of it. So yeah,
I think even that period of time was kind of fine, because you needed that. You were going to the workplace to look after people, to take care of people every day. And when you had COVID, that was the only time when you got to stay at home to take some rest.
Literally, like, this is going to sound so controversial, but that was actually the one time that allowed me to sit at home, catch up with myself, and, like, catch up with everything around me. And because I had placements, so I had a 12-hour shift on Sunday, and then I was back to uni, like, so placements the next week. So the time off actually allowed me to sit down, catch up with my work, catch up with my studies, and everything else there. But I know that, like, that might be a little bit controversial, but for me, like, that was my experience.
Okay. So you mentioned about this study in UK versus Scotland. Sorry, England versus Scotland.
Scotland. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So there was time when in around in the final year of your studies, you got a time to choose a country of your choice for 8 weeks, if I'm not wrong.
yeah. The elective, yes, yeah. So most medical schools, either in the final year or the penultimate year, we have something called electives, where you can go abroad or you can stay at like your home country, and volunteer at a hospital or any sort of healthcare facility to gain experience from that. Yeah.
Okay, so which was the country that you chose, and what
I
were the
wanted to come to
experiences?
India. I really wanted to come to India for my elective. I actually wanted to stay in my hometown, and I really wanted to get experience from there. But obviously, because of COVID, that couldn't happen. But ideally, what I would have liked was come to India, just gain experience, volunteer, or even just observe about how the healthcare system is much different to the UK. See what life is like there, appreciate the differences,
Yeah.
and probably similarities as well.
So you did not go to any other country, and you stayed in Scotland.
Yeah, so unfortunately our electives just got replaced with a online global health module, which was not
Okay.
exactly, it's like polar opposite of what would happen. And to be honest, during that we just did some online courses, modules. It was actually it was downtime, so we actually got some time off. If you can finish the modules quite quickly as well, so which means that you can actually have time for yourself to either study for your finals, exams, revision, or even just like have a quick break. You can go home to see your family, or even go on holiday. So I actually ended up going to Isle of Skye in Scotland, which was, it was a 4-hour drive, but it was beautiful. It was honestly a really nice experience. So yeah, nothing like I'd planned, but that's life.
So most of the times, what you plan, that is not something you end up with.
Exactly.
But the alternative is also kind of beautiful, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you are a doctor officially. So if I was to ask you which is the exact field you're working into? Like I heard you were a general practitioner. Are you still referred as general practitioner, or you are referred as doctor right now? Or is there any differences between the two?
Yeah. So in the UK, regardless of what route of medicine you do, so which was I was alluding to earlier, you do. So I did graduate entry medicine, which means I've done one degree and then I do a post-graduation in graduate entry medicine. So that's, or you can do undergraduate medicine. So you finish school and you go straight into medicine. So that's what my brother's doing right now. He finished school and he's straight into medicine at the moment. So regardless of what course you do, graduate entry medicine or undergraduate medicine, when you graduate, you'll do 2 years of foundation training. So every medical student that graduates and becomes a doctor, everyone will do 2 years of foundation training. So I'm doing 2 years of foundation training. A general practitioner is a specialty that you can go into, so a GP. So once you finish 2 years of training, you can either become a GP, general practitioner. So that the way the healthcare system in the UK is that you so primary care, which is GP, or secondary care, which is hospital care, right? So you can either become a GP in primary care or you can become a hospital doctor. So at the moment I'm on my foundation program, so that's 2 years, and then after 2 years you can, as I said, I can either go into the GP route or the hospital. So I wanted to do GP, but I think I've changed my mind and I think I'm going to be a hospital doctor, because I think hospital environment suits me, and I want to become a consultant in a particular specialty in a field. So right now I'm doing 2 years and that's split into 6 rotations. So 6 rotations meaning 4 months per rotation, right? So right now I'm on my stroke, so I'm working in the stroke department. So I'm a junior doctor. So right now I'll be classed as a junior doctor F1, so foundation year 1 and then foundation year 2. I start off with stroke, and then I moved on, and then my next specialty and my next rotation is urology, and then I'll go on to pediatrics, so children's medicine. And then after that, that's first year done, and then my second year will rotate. I think I started with rheumatology and then GP, which is you do get a sort of 4 months rotation in GP, and then my final I think is geriatrics, so elderly medicine.
Okay. So the 4 rotations exactly mean 16 months or something like that.
So each rotation, so there'll be 6 rotations, and each rotation is 4 months. Yeah. So 6 rotations altogether, 3 in each year. So 3 in first year, 3 in second year. And then of that 3 rotations I have is 4 months long.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so currently okay, let's just talk about your life in Scotland. You were already you graduated from a very, to be honest, very fancy university where you had such such a great graduation ceremony. So as an Indian, you had that experience. What did you feel? Of course it's going to be something that is very beautiful that you will say, but other than that, if you would like to say to the audience, if we compare it with your graduation or the ceremonies that we have in India, so how did you feel that to be in Scotland?
So I think so. This is my Scottish graduation. That was my second graduation. I already had my first graduation in London with St. George's University. So I've already graduated before with sort of UK-based universities. But I think even compared to the St. George's, with my first one, this one seemed a lot more grand. And I think that is because St. Andrews is a very prestigious university, and I think the way they do their ceremonies are very on a grand scale, and even just the way they carry out their graduation, and kneeling down, having the cloth when they pat the cloth on your head and stuff, and apparently that cloth's really old and it's been sort of passed down from generations to generations. But obviously I can't compare it to any other graduations outside of the UK because I only know the UK based graduation. I don't actually know what graduation in India is like, or what comparatively what I can only compare it to my own one, and I can say I think St. Andrews is, even compared to all the other universities, even within the UK, I know St. Andrews is still a little bit more on a sort of a bigger spectrum in that way. How I felt, I think, to be honest, regardless of what uni I was graduating with, I think I did feel like it was a day to be celebrated, to be enjoyed. I've just finished my medical degree, and I think I was already feeling so many emotions on that day anyway. The day before, we arrived in Scotland at 3 a.m. in the morning, and my graduation was the next day starting at 9 a.m. so we only had 3 hours of sleep, so it was already such a long day anyway. And my family was there, everyone was there, my friends, family. It was a really nice feeling, and it felt like you'd actually accomplished something. And obviously, everything was done to a grand scale, the photos, the pictures, and the university itself was so beautiful. So it was genuinely really nice to be there. But why don't you tell me about your graduation, and then we can compare notes and see what it's like, because I don't actually know what graduation is like in India.
Okay, so graduations in India are actually dependent upon the university to university. It would be better if you do not ask about my university, how they had my graduation ceremony, because as of now, I haven't received my graduation degree yet. I have my mark sheet, but I haven't received the graduation degree.
Okay, so that's a certificate.
And no, so it's going to, the degree is going to take time, because we usually they take approx 6 months or something like that to provide you with the degree, and it depends upon the university, because my university is simply going to just call me over the phone, or just going to invite me on a WhatsApp message that we have your degree prepared, go and take it.
Oh my
That's it.
gosh,
I'm
fine.
not discouraging any other universities because in my own university they
Yeah,
had nice ceremonies for a specific dental students or something like that. I'm not very sure, so I'm not claiming to
yeah,
any. I
yeah.
can't say like that.
Fine,
Okay,
fair enough.
so let's
Fair enough.
let's just
Yeah,
keep that aside.
yeah. Keep that under wraps. Fine,
Okay.
fine.
So, what I saw from this entire conversation was that you actually love what you do. You love medicine, you love helping people. But if I was to ask you, what is that one thing that you love the most about it? So, what's it going to be?
So I think ever since I've started my job, like it has, I'll be very honest, it's been quite overwhelming. The hours are quite long as well. Like, going from just, I think the leap from a medical student to F1 is quite big. So, as a junior doctor, because you're now actually responsible for your patients, you're making clinical decisions that will actually impact, their day-to-day lives. Obviously you have senior doctors around, and they're always there to support you and help you. But I think just working in the NHS, I think you do begin to realize there's actually, the realities are that it is long hours, there's short staff issues, and with the winter pressures coming on as well, I think it is something to bear in mind. But obviously this is what you see in the media all the time. So in terms of positives, which they definitely are, but they're probably just not talked about a lot, I think it is very rewarding. Like, when you come, like, you can do a good day's worth of work. Like, you start the day, it's a normal working day, you start the day with ward rounds, you do your jobs, you sort of, chase investigation scans, talk to family members. And actually some days can feel incredibly rewarding. Like, you can come home and you feel like you've actually done something productive. Like might have, even in the smallest of things. And do you know what is when a family member comes and tells you like, oh, thank you so much for giving me the time of the day, and it'll be something really small. Like for you might feel so insignificant, but for them it's obviously a huge part of their life, their loved one, their family members here. So what I do love, it is a rewarding job. Like, some days you do feel like you've done something really satisfying, and I like that. I like feeling that I've been productive and a valued member of the community, and giving back. So I think for me that's probably one of the best things.
Okay, so at the end of the day, what you look after is if your patient was healthy, or if you were able to do your job well, or the thing that you are doing is something that you want to do for the rest of your life. So it includes all of those beautiful things. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would say is I actually really encourage and appreciate what you're doing as a doctor, as a person, as an influencer, if not so influencer. But no, actually we need people like you who are actually sharing their journeys on a journey. On a like very honest perspective, on a very honest note, and that you don't have to be someone who is actually dancing on the TikTok, or just doing random stuffs to gain followers. That is not something that you're doing. You are encouraging people, and I have seen that there are actually students who ask you that in my second year of my medical, or in my first year of my medical, what should I do? Or if I wasn't able to grab this university, what should I do? There are a lot of questions, and you've been helping them out really well. So
very kind of you. That's so sweet.
yeah. So okay, if would you like to say anything about the how do you get those basically those products who are there to sponsor them? How did you get those kind of opportunities? Would you like to tell anything about those?
So are you talking about like sponsorship deals, or like advertising? Is that what you're sort of alluding to? Like so I think with Instagram, so when I started it, I wasn't expecting, and I certainly didn't start Instagram as a way to sort of have sponsorship deals or anything like that. That was something that came as a byproduct of what I was doing, which is actually like it was pleasant, like it was unexpected but very pleasant to have. So essentially, like if it is for anyone, like once you start doing social media and you start getting attraction, like companies, they will DM you, they'll reach. I've never reached out to anyone, they've reached out to me, and they'll say like, oh, we've got a certain product, we'll send it to you, or if you want, there's a paid promotion or anything, and then I'll just talk to them about my usual sort of what my baseline contract is, and then they'll agree to the terms and conditions, send it over, and I'll like advertise it on my Instagram, because I mean I have TikTok but I don't really use it that much. Instagram's my main sort of social media platform, and then I'll just post it on there, and I suppose that's what it is. But I guess the more traction and followers you have, the easier it will be for the companies to reach out to you as well, because that's how you get exposure. But yeah, I mean, with followers and stuff, like you said, you mentioned that people dancing and stuff to get followers and whatever. I think everyone has their own field. Everyone, like the way everyone is on social media, I think everyone's passionate about their own fields. I think you have to do what makes you happy. Put my hands up, I've tried a couple of dancing TikToks, and like they're not the best, but I think it's fun. Like you just do it because it is something to enjoy and stuff. But yeah,
of course. No, I'm not demotivating anyone. Of course, what you're doing is something different. What I wanted to actually say was that there isn't a source of inspiration that you aren't maybe providing people with an energy that they should grab, or maybe let's just keep it aside. Let's let them do whatever they're doing.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I mean, I completely understand what's that. Everyone's got their different, like, some people are posting videos about X, Y, and Z. I choose to post this because this is what I relate to, and maybe that's what my audience relates to as well. That being said, I follow loads of other people that probably I follow, I guess, what I put out, which is medical content, but actually I do follow other videos and other vlogs and pages as well. So it's, at the end of the day, is what you will benefit from or what you like.
Okay, so we have had enough long conversation. Let's bring this to an end, because every beautiful story has an ending. So reaching to the end of the podcast, before I part ways with you, do you have anything to say before parting ways with our listeners to inspire them?
Oh gosh, yeah. How about never give up on yourself? I think that's something that I've learned from my own experience. I believe in yourself, because I've been in places where I've thought, oh, I might not make it, or if I do this and that might not work. But keep persevering and keep trying. If that's your end goal and you want to get there, things will work out. So all the best, and thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for having me, Icha. Like, this has been so nice, and thank you so much for inviting me. And if you guys have been listening till now as well, that's very kind. I hope you guys have learned something. But yeah, thank you.
That's lovely. Okay, so what's the moral of this story? Follow your passion. Things will fall out. Do what your heart says, and everything is going to be all right. On that note, I would like to end this episode of the Changemakers of Mentogram. Stay tuned for more such inspiring stories. Until the next episode, I am your host, Pratiksha.